All right, guys, welcome back to another video. I'm still fighting a little bit of sickness, but I'm definitely feeling a lot better than I did last week. So I appreciate everybody sticking with me as I did miss 2 days of news, Thursday and Friday. And there was a lot of stuff that did come out, and you wouldn't expect that at the end of the year going into Christmas. I mean, this video right now is coming out on Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everybody out there. And we have a lot to talk about, some catch up and just some stuff that happened over the weekend as well. Lots of interesting news that is occurring during Christmas, over the Christmas break, and going into the new year. So it's just nonstop this year, 2023, heading into 2024 with crazy news. And a lot of that has to do with the Insomniac leak. I mean, the Insomniac leak happened. I don't think anybody expected this to be such a massive piece of gaming news at the end of a year like this. Probably the biggest hack in gaming history, maybe one of the biggest news stories ever to hit the gaming industry, with just the sheer amount of information that did come out from gameplay demos, game files that people are now hacking and playing them way before obviously Insomniac is ready to show it off and have people play it, specifically with Wolverine, seeing stuff for like Spider-Man 3. Like, it's just absolutely insane. We've seen their strategy with PlayStation Plus, and this seems like essentially they are exactly going to be following the Xbox strategy, which is not something that is surprising to me whatsoever. I've been calling this now for years, that they have to move forward and do what Xbox does if they do want to continue to compete, because it's costing way too much to make their games. But we have this here, and this is something that relates to Xbox, and it shows just how much people look at Ninja Theory and their graphics and how they do things, and how impressed these other studios are that they want to make their games similar. So this is from IdleSoft and AltShare. It says Insomniac Games is targeting Hellblade 2's like photorealism for Wolverine. Insomniac Games has been the target of the ransomware attack, and in one of these leaked slides in their showcases, they say that they showcase Hellblade 2 as Insomniac Games' visual targets for Marvel's Wolverine's character models. They want it to be in line with what Hellblade 2 is doing. And we've seen Hellblade 2 now graphically. We even saw some combat, thankfully, at the Game Awards. And it looks like it's going to be one of the most visually stunning games that we get this entire generation. It may end up being the best looking game based off stuff that we are seeing. So it's not surprising that a lot of studios out there are going to use Ninja Theory and Hellblade 2 as a target, just because of how incredible things look from what they're doing and just their methods where they're going out and like scanning environments and stuff. So we'll see if they're going to do similar stuff like that with Wolverine. But we also saw the leaks of the Wolverine game and the character, and I mean, it doesn't really seem like it is that close. We'll see if it ever ends up getting to that point when the game does eventually release. They also say here that Ninja Theory, the developer of Hellblade 2, has showcased impressive character models in the recent trailer, demonstrating the studio's commitment to achieving realistic visuals using motion capture and photogrammetry. So lots of praise there for the things that Ninja Theory is doing with Hellblade 2. All right, let's jump over here and let's talk about one of the biggest rumors to hit here at the end of the year. And if this does end up coming true, I will be pretty excited for this, and it'll be a huge, massive W here for Xbox, and for a couple of reasons. The rumor here is that id Tech, or id Software, is creating a Mandalorian game, which we don't have any evidence of this being the case, but this is all just, take this with a huge grain of salt. It's all just major speculation. This comes via ecstasies on Twitter, but there really isn't anything here to back it up. But it says that this news comes from leaker ecstasies, who has heard rumors that a new Star Wars game from Doom developers could be targeting a 2024 or 2025 release. 2024 would be shocking. 2025, I could kind of see if it's been in development for a while. They come out at an Xbox Developer Direct or the Xbox Showcase in the summer, and they show off gameplay. They have a lot of stuff to show about the game, and then they announce that it's coming out next year. That would make more sense, but it coming out this year would be an absolute shock, unless it's like one of those shadow drop style of games, which would be insane. So I'm not sure how much I believe that, but again, this is just a rumor. It says, well, this is just a rumor for now. The idea is certainly interesting. Earlier this year, an EA technical artist released a concept art for a Mandalorian-themed game, which looks stunning. If id Software is indeed developing a Star Wars game, they will be using their in-house id Tech 8 engine, combining the engine with rich universe of Star Wars, could lead to a splendid results. And I think it would be insane to see what id Software could do with a Mandalorian game. With we've seen what they do with Doom, right? And then using that id Tech and bringing it into this world, I think there would be some insane stuff that could come out of it. And graphically would look incredible. Gameplay wise would look it would be amazing. So I hope that this is something that does come true. I would love to see the Mandalorian come into a video game. It's funny because we're in this time, this era of gaming where licensed games are actually exciting. They're actually all the rage. Everyone is talking about licensed game. When a licensed game gets announced, like we just had Blade announced, now we have Mandalorian here in the rumors. You have Spider-Man on PlayStation. People are excited to play these games because they're ending up being very good games. I remember back in the day when I was growing up, licensed games were those games you would just look at and you knew right away that they were going to be trash. They were throwaway. You would ignore them. You would probably end up not playing them because it would be wasting your money. And we're in a completely different era here of video games where licensed games are becoming some of the better games out there. So I hope this is true. It would just be an insane additional game to the Xbox catalog coming into Game Pass, obviously, and just a huge W for Xbox going into 2024 and 2025. We haven't heard anything about Developer Direct yet. I'm assuming there is going to be one in January, and maybe that's where we'll first hear and see something about this Mandalorian game that Xbox is working on. All right, there's a lot to go over here. Let's stick on some Xbox stuff here. Let's talk about some Arc 2 because this was shown off a long time ago, and we remember Vin Diesel in the trailer and everything, and we really haven't heard very much about Arc 2 recently. It said it was supposed to be coming out in 2024, but again, no gameplay, no real major updates for the game. So it seems like it would be going all along the lines of being delayed, but that looks like it won't be the case. It says here, Arc 2 is still planned for release in late 2024, Snail Games CEO Jim Tsai says. During a speaking appearance at the NobleCon 19 conference, Tsai reconfirmed that the game will be coming next year. He described it as Snail Games' next masterpiece, while also talking about annual DLC plans through 2029. So there you go. That's another huge game that is going to be an Xbox console exclusive coming in 2024, at least according to right now. Things always can change when it comes to these games. They always can get delayed at the last minute, and I think that's okay because we want these games to come out in a good state. But as of right now, that's another game added to the roadmap, added to the slate of games coming to Xbox in 2024. Let's talk here about some Xbox leadership changes. There are a bunch of Xbox leadership changes that were announced. We know Bobby Kotick is leaving at the end of the year, and this is now official. He is going to be stepping down officially on December 29th at Xbox. And there's been a whole change up here in terms of Activision Blizzard executives and where they're reporting and where they are in the hierarchy of Xbox. We'll just quickly go through this. It says Microsoft has not appointed a direct replacement and instead has rolled the suite of Activision Blizzard executives, including Blizzard president Mike Ybarra, Activision publishing president Rob Kosich, and Activision Blizzard Vice Chair Thomas Tipple under Microsoft's Game, Content, and Studios President Matt Booty. So Matt Booty, we already know he got a huge promotion a couple months ago. Him and Sarah Bond got moved up the chain. And now Matt Booty is getting even more responsibility with some big people under him, like Mike Ybarra, who is Blizzard's president, Rob Kosich, and Thomas Tipple, all going to be reporting up to Matt Booty, who is going to be essentially in charge now of the entire Xbox game studios, Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, Xbox game studios. Like, he has a ton of responsibility here to make sure that games are being completed and released in a good way, in a good fashion, quality, hitting deadlines, meeting budgets, doing all of this stuff. He has probably the most important role right now at Xbox, even more so than Phil Spencer, because Phil Spencer is the head CEO. I get it. And he is the top dog, and he's the one who's brought Xbox to where it is. But he is going to be counting on Matt Booty to make sure that everything is running well within the game studios under him. So he has a massive, massive job here. And it's gotten even bigger with people under him. It says here, Kotick's departure comes just 2 months after some big Xbox leadership changes that saw Sarah Bond being promoted to Xbox president, leading all Xbox platform and hardware work, and Matt Booty promoted to the president of game, content, and studios, including overseeing Bethesda and ZeniMax Studios. Now Booty is getting an even more responsibilities with Bethesda, Activision Blizzard, and Xbox Game Studios all under his watch. So crazy. He has a huge role here. Now, the other big change here, the name that people will know is Lulu Meserve. She will be leaving, and everyone loved Lulu in the lead up to the deal closing just because she didn't hold back anything. She was very honest on social media, and she's actually going to be leaving at the end of January, which is unfortunate for people that liked her. And Humam Sakhinini, I don't know how, forgive me if I said that wrong. Vice chairman of Blizzard and King will also depart at the end of December, and a number of Activision Blizzard executives will depart in March too. So there's a bunch of executives here. I'm not going to read through them all. They will be departing from Activision Blizzard. A lot of people are leaving. Xbox is kind of restructuring where their management is, and they're going to move forward from there. So some interesting stuff. The other big thing here is that additionally, a memo from Matt Booty announced some of the changes taking place at ZeniMax and Bethesda, including that Jill Braff has been named the new head of those studios. So Braff worked on the integration team when ZeniMax and Bethesda joined Xbox back in 2021 and will lead the studio's development team. So we will see how this all works out. Like I said, Matt Booty has a huge role right now. And if games come out, if there's another Redfall situation where a game is released in a terrible state and Phil Spencer is being forced to go out there on podcasts and explain what is going on, the reality of the situation is it falls on him because he is the head, but Matt Booty is going to be taking the brunt of making sure that those games release in a good state. So Xbox Game Studios are in the hands of Matt Booty right now, and we'll see how he does in 2024 and beyond. I feel like most games are already in development. They're already moving along very well. They already know where everything is, and I don't think there's really anything to worry about for the next couple of years just because of how many studios and how many games that they have in the works. So once they start working on new stuff, then things probably will get more interesting. All right, let's jump over here. Let's talk about another major hack that actually got stopped here. And this time it's with Ubisoft. So Ubisoft fought off a mega hack, it says, or at least that its claims. As following the devastating ransomware attack against Insomniac Games that saw more than a terabyte of data leaked online, including a workable build of Wolverine, other developers are understandably bolstering their cybersecurity efforts. And it's been claimed that just days after Insomniac Games was breached, Ubisoft also suffered from a malicious intrusion. But this story has a more positive ending. It was said that Ubisoft's cybersecurity teams reportedly cleaned their systems of the threat actor before a substantial amount of data could be stolen. So Ubisoft did what PlayStation needed to do, which was stop this hack from happening once there was an intrusion. And basically what they did was they stopped an attempt to take 900 gigabytes of data, which would have been another massive, huge thing happening at the end of the year where we would have probably learned about all of the upcoming stuff from Ubisoft, all of their secrets, all of the things that they have working on that we don't know about. But apparently that has been stopped here, and Ubisoft was able to make sure that nothing got out. So that's a positive story, I guess, when it comes to these companies beating off these hacks. And then you have Sony and PlayStation where everything got out, and we have more information about some of the stuff that did come out here. And that is specifically, it looks like they're planning on more layoffs and potentially closing down an entire studio, which is kind of shocking to think about because this comes from an Insomniac leak, and Insomniac makes great games. They make games that have sold well. They have Spider-Man, one of the most popular IPs in every form of media, across any form of media, one of the most popular characters you could ever have. So you would think it's super easy for them to make money hand over fist, that they would never have to worry about layoffs, never have to worry about potentially closing down the studio. We did see some numbers on how much it actually cost to make some of these games, and it was pushing over $300 million to develop some of these games from Insomniac, which is astronomical. And it really kind of makes me realize that all of this time where I've been saying that the development costs for games are increasing so much, PlayStation has to expand out their ecosystem. They have to reach more players because it's just going to be unsustainable to continuously make these games. I was saying like $200 million plus to develop these games. It's become unsustainable. If they're at 300 million plus, the fact that they haven't expanded out their ecosystem yet, to me, is kind of crazy, but it looks like that's probably what they're going to be ending up doing. But all of this is leading to the fact that they aren't making enough money to be able to sustain what they're doing, to be able to sustain these games and their employees and their studios. And this kind of all has come out in this leak. It says here, Sony may be planning layoffs for various PlayStation studios, including Insomniac Games. The documents found also suggest that there could be one studio closure. The specific information relayed originally by Kotaku about Sony's plans for PlayStation Studios was discovered in documents from the extensive ransomware leak that targeted Insomniac Games. Now, these key statements here were posted on Twitter by PostUp, and this is what they say. It says that to remove 50 to 75 people strategically, our best option is to cut deeply into Wolverine and Spider-Man 3, replacing lower performers with team members from Ratchet and new IP. And this is a note attributed to Insomniac Games CEO Ted Price. So, I mean, the only reason you're cutting 50 to 75 people is because your profit margins are too thin. And they need to be able to increase those profit margins for investors and for the big corporate guys at Sony. That's why they would have to do this. If games weren't costing as much for them to make, they probably wouldn't have to be cutting 50 to 75 people. I think that's kind of the simple situation here. If they're going to be spending $300+ million to make Wolverine and Spider-Man 3, something has got to give, because it's going to be very, very hard to make enough money off of those projects. Even if they sell millions of copies, it's just an insane amount of how much it's costing to make games now, specifically at PlayStation. One of the most interesting things we did see was the huge profit margins that were from like the remasters and remakes that they were putting out versus the newer titles. And that's exactly why they continuously are putting out The Last of Us remake and remaster, and they're going to keep putting out more remakes and remasters to fill in gaps while we wait for those newer titles to come out for Spider-Man 3 in the future and the X-Men game in the future. They have to fill in those gaps and make some more money. And that's why they put out remakes and remasters, because the actual cost to make those games is far less. So all of this is all coming out in these leaked documents. It's not really that surprising. I mean, I saw this writing on the wall now for months, for years. I would say even from the beginning of this generation, I saw this writing on the wall. Now it's all really coming out here in plain sight that, hey, most people who were spouting this were probably right. And we're going to continue to see PlayStation expand and expand their reach, expand their access. More people are going to be able to play PlayStation games from more devices. And at the end of the day, that's just a great thing for gamers. So I'm happy that that's happening. I'm actually happy that it looks like they're going to be copying the Xbox strategy. Now, another thing that did come out here is that they're looking to potentially sell their games in parts for $50 each, raising the overall prices to $80 to $100, which is just absolute stupidity here. I mean, we've seen the numbers. It's a minority of people that buy their first-party games. What makes them think that they're going to go out and spend $150 on Spider-Man 3? And the reason I say $150 is because we have this from these documents. It says, chief among these leaks is an internal presentation that reveals not only is Sony planning on increasing game prices again from $70 to $80 to $100, they're also planning to release the next Spider-Man game in 3 parts for $50 each. It's just crazy. So that means that apparently it's going to be 2 parts for the main game, and then the multiplayer will be sold separately for a grand total of $150 to get full access to Spider-Man 3. Now, again, these are from these leaked documents. Things change. Who knows if these are just spitballing documents? Are these set in stone? All that needs to be kept in mind whenever we talk about this, because things change, and maybe this was just an idea that was put out there. But I mean, this would be a terrible idea if it did come to fruition, and I hope Sony doesn't do this. I almost think that they're not stupid enough to do this, but I mean, they've done a bunch of stupid stuff, so you never know who if this is something that does come to fruition. But Spider-Man is such a popular IP. It's like one of those games you could potentially take that risk with charging more, and I think there would be a fair amount of people that would still buy it, but $150 is just astronomical, and I think that would cut into a lot of people actually buying that game on day one. Now, finally, Insomniac did respond, and even with all this information we're getting aside, obviously, for the people working there, it's been brutal. Like, they're going into Christmas having to deal with this, so you got to feel for them. I mean, nobody deserves this, but they did respond here. They say, Thank you for the outpouring of compassion and unwavering support. It's deeply appreciated. We're both saddened and angered about the recent criminal cyber attack on our studio and the emotional toll it's taken on our dev team. We have focused inwardly for the last several days for support from each other. We are aware that the stolen data includes personal information belonging to our employees, former employees, and independent contractors. It also includes early development details about Marvel's Wolverine for PlayStation 5. We continue working quickly to determine what data was impacted. This experience has been extremely distressing for us. We want everyone to enjoy the games we develop as intended and as our players deserve. However, like Logan, Insomniac is resilient. Marvel's Wolverine continues as planned. The game is in early production and will no doubt greatly evolve throughout the development, as do all of our plans. While we appreciate everyone's enthusiasm, we will share official information about Marvel's Wolverine when the time is right. On behalf of everyone at Insomniac, thank you for the ongoing support during the challenging time. So there it is. And one thing I do have to say that is absurd, that from what we've seen from this leak and everybody talking about Wolverine, is people taking this leak from Wolverine and then making jokes or comments about it in the sense that they think it's going to be like the final version of this game. This version that we're seeing out there on the internet is so early, and this game isn't coming out until like 2026. It's going to change vastly from now until its actual release. So judging Wolverine based off of these leaks to me is just absurd. It makes no sense. But I mean, at the end of the day, again, this has been probably the biggest gaming news story of the year, of the last couple of years. Even when you think about things like these acquisitions of Activision Blizzard and Bethesda, it's up there in terms of the magnitude of an effect that this could have on the industry, because now we're even seeing these hackers go out and trying to get Ubisoft, and we're going to see this continue with all these major companies and developers, where these hackers are going to go in there and try to get these huge files of information and just dump them on the internet for everybody to see what is going on. So obviously the personal information stuff is the saddest part about all of this, and nobody's going to be reporting on that. But I mean, we're going to talk about the leaks. The leaks are out there. We talked about the leaks with every other leak that happened. There were criminal leaks when it came to Capcom, when it came to GTA, when it came to the Nvidia stuff. I mean, these are all hacks, right? So it doesn't make the Insomniac one any different, but of course it is hard on their employees. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
We'll be right back.